Morning S1, welcome to the second Bertha Park English Department distance learning lesson. So just as a reminder, over the next few weeks we're going to start every week with a spelling activity. Then we're going to work towards our personal essay. So the more effort you put into each week, the easier you will find writing this personal essay. We're then going to do a short RUI activity and we're going to end each lesson by just reading and thinking about a poem. Okay, so if you remember last week we were describing setting. This week we're moving on to show, don't tell. After that we will look at planning and look at some examples. Then we'll start writing our essay with using the slow writing method that you've used before to do our opening. And finally we'll discuss how to check and edit your own work before handing it in to get marked. Okay, so we'll start with our spelling starter. Remember, the first part of the starter must be handwritten, but what would be really useful is if you took a picture of what you've done and pop it onto your OneNote under the distance learning section. If you don't have a distance learning section, create one just now. Your three words are business, dilemma, tendency. So I want you to write those words out 3 times. Once you've done that, I want you to go onto your class team, go onto the distance learning questions section and write out a sentence that uses all 3 words. So pause the video and do that now. We're now on to our main lesson, and this week we're going to focus on a phrase called show, don't tell. But first of all, we're going to think about describing feelings and emotions. So activity 1. All I want you to do is I want you to think of a time when you were happy, a time when you were sad, a time when you were angry, scared, or even excited. And what I want you to do, and this could be handwritten or in your OneNote, but remember if you handwrite it, you can take a picture and put it in your OneNote, is I want you to write down each of these times, okay? Just one sentence each. So things like a time that made me sad was, or I was happy when. So pause this video and do that now. It should only take you about 5 minutes. Activity 2, we're going to think about word choice. Now, word choice refers to choosing particular words because of their connotations. So connotations are the ideas that you associate with the word, and they can totally change the meaning, okay? So for example, instead of writing happy, you might write the word joyful. And joyful, certainly to me, it conjures up ideas of being so happy you're almost crying. Something like a major relief maybe. So I was joyful when my children were born, for example. Or I will be joyful when all of this is over and we get to go back to normality again. Won't that be lovely? Contented though is slightly different. If I am content, then I'm feeling at peace. I'm happy still, but it's a much more peaceful thing. So for example, when I'm reading my book, I feel contented. So what I want you to do just now, and this might take between 5 or 10 minutes, is pause the video, and for each of the other emotions, sad, angry, annoyed, scared, excited and disgusted, I want you to write down 2 words that would maybe change the meaning because of their connotations. So for happy, I've written down joyful and contented. I want you to think of 2 words for each of the others, and I'll give you a wee hint to help you. If you go into your Safari and just type out the word and then write the word thesaurus afterwards, you will find, or the word synonyms, you will find loads of other words to help you. Okay, so pause this for between 5 and 10 minutes and off you go. We're now on to the main part of the lesson, which is all about showing versus telling, okay? What do we mean by that? Well, for example, if we use the scenario of someone writing a personal essay all about stage fright, okay? If they were to tell you how they were feeling, they might say, when I walked on stage, I was very nervous. I was scared to start singing. I didn't think I could do it. I was as scared as someone coming face to face with a lion. The whole thing was terrifying. All I wanted to do was run away. Okay, so what they've done there is perfectly acceptable in a personal essay. They've talked about their feelings and emotions, which is what we want. However, they've run out of things to say really quickly. Let's go on to how different it would be if they were to show you how they feel. I tried to walk towards the stage, but I could feel my legs buckling under my body. My knees were shaking so badly they kept banging together. Then I realised that my hands were starting to sweat. What if I couldn't hold the microphone? I kept rubbing them on my sleeve, but the sweat just kept coming. The stairs were now right in front of me, but I honestly wasn't sure if my feet would actually move anymore. And that's when I realised that I had absolutely no saliva left in my mouth. How on earth was I going to manage this? Now, what might be interesting to note is that they don't actually once tell you that they feel scared, but by describing the sort of physical reactions, by describing their sweat, their knees buckling, by describing how the stairs felt as they were coming towards them, what they've done is they've been able to show you they were scared. And it's a really useful technique when you're doing your personal essay because you'll be writing up to about 500 or 600 words. And by showing instead of telling, you can add in loads more detail and it's much more interesting to your reader. So things to think about then when you're showing instead of telling. You want to think about facial expressions, the feelings inside your body, maybe the tone of voice, physical reactions, body language, hand gestures, colour of face. Remember, you can also show don't tell when you're describing someone else. So you can talk about their tone of voice, the fact that they went almost purple because they were so angry. You could say that instead of just saying they were angry. Okay? So here is the third activity, and this will take between 5 and 10 minutes. Remember to pause the video. What I want you to do is I want you to rewrite this paragraph to show how the person was feeling. And I do need to see this in your OneNote so that I can mark it, okay? You can handwrite it and pop on a picture, or you can just type it straight into your OneNote under the distance learning section. Okay, you might want a whole new page for this. So I want you to rewrite this paragraph to show how the person was feeling. I heard a crash. I looked up and realised that my brother had broken my phone. I was very, very angry. I was so angry that I didn't want to speak to him. I was furious. I started to shout at him, telling him how angry I was. I was so mad at him. I didn't think I would ever speak to him again after this. So I want you to write that out again, but I don't ever want you to mention the word angry. I don't want you to tell me. I want you to show me how this person was feeling. Right, we're moving on to our fourth activity, and this is where we're going to build on the stuff we learned last week about similes and metaphors. So just as a reminder, a simile is when you compare one thing to something else, making the comparison clear by using like or as. His face was like a beetroot. What I want you to do is go onto your class team, distance learning questions, and I want you to type in one simile to show sadness. Remember, the more we have on our team, the more inspiration we can give others. Okay? So go into your class team distance learning questions, and type up a simile that shows sadness. Okay, next we're going to focus on a metaphor, and remember that's when you compare one thing to something else, saying it is the other thing. So an example could be, my stomach was a washing machine going round and round and round. This time I want you to go back onto your class team, distance learning question, and type up a metaphor to show anger. A metaphor to show anger. So pause this video just now so that you've got these examples in front of you and type them into your distance learning questions channels. Finally, we're on to activity 5, which is our main activity, and this should take between 10 and 15 minutes, okay? Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hand out an assignment, and I want you to type this into your assignment, okay? So stop putting it into OneNote unless you want to use your OneNote for notes, because I'm going to give you a Word document and assignments, and that's where I want you to write this, okay? So I want you to think about a time when you felt either excited or scared. I want you to use interesting word choice, similes and metaphors, and I want you to write a paragraph to show the reader how you felt. And please give a little bit of context, okay? So maybe, for instance, when we looked at the one about the stage fright, there were sentences in there that helped us understand what was actually happening. It could be maybe when you've gone to play a football match in a new team for the first time, or it could be when you were about to get a letter to tell you if you had won something, or, it could be anything you want. You could totally exaggerate it. It could be something that wasn't that exciting and you could turn it into something exciting. Okay, it could be when you watched a horror film, how scared were you when you watched it? It could be, I'm trying to think of other examples, when you went to do a talent show, maybe you were excited to do it, but you were also a little bit scared. Okay, just one paragraph using word choice, at least one simile, at least one metaphor to show how you felt. Okay, so that's your main activity, and that's also going to be your homework. So that was the end of personal writing lesson 2. We're now moving on to Rui, and just quickly, if you pause the video now, you will see some answers to what we did last week, so you can self-mark, okay? So pause just now and self-mark your work from last week. Right, we're now moving on to answering some questions using our own words. So remember, last week we looked at how to put certain things into our own words. Now we're going to look at actually answering some questions, okay? And this time I've taken just a little passage from just a Pets at Home website all about miniature schnauzers. And if you look in the corner, you can see little Tuco, who's my miniature schnauzer, okay? The miniature schnauzer is a smart-looking little dog that's native to Germany. They are the smallest of the 3 schnauzers, being the more recent addition to this charming breed. Since they first appeared in the show ring, they have become one of the most popular of all the schnauzers thanks to their size as well as their charming looks and kind, loyal natures. The miniature schnauzer is a low shedder, which is another reason why they have gained popularity not only here in the UK, but elsewhere in the world too. They are sturdy, robust in appearance, with an almost square look about them, being just as tall as they are long. Miniature schnauzers are very adaptable, being just as happy living in an apartment as they would be living in a country house, provided they are given the right amount of mental stimulation and daily exercise. Always alert and eager to please, the miniature schnauzer is a real crowd pleaser in the show ring, both with audiences and judges alike. So, you've got a question here, why are miniature schnauzers so popular? And it's worth 3 marks. Remember, you don't need to answer in full sentences. So I've just answered their shape, they look pleasant and they're faithful to their owner. So I found the answer in the passage, but I've then turned it into my own words. Question 2 is worth 1 mark. Why else did they gain popularity around the world? And I've just written, they don't lose much hair. And in the passage it says they're low shedders, and that's all that means, okay? So I want you to answer the next 2. Remember, just bullet point answers, okay? You don't need to answer in sentences, it's actually a waste of your time. So pause this video for about 5 minutes and answer questions 3, and it should say question 4 there, sorry. Finally, we're going to read a poem called Walking Away by C.D. Lewis. It is 18 years ago, almost to the day, a sunny day with leaves just turning, the touchlines new ruled, since I watched you play your first game of football, then, like a satellite wrenched from its orbit, go drifting away. Behind a scatter of boys, I can see you walking away from me towards the school with the pathos of a half-fledged thing set free into a wilderness, the gait of one who finds no path where the path should be. That hesitant figure, eddying away like a winged seed loosened from its parent stem, has something I never quite grasped to convey about nature's give and take, the small, the scorching ordeals which fire one's irresolute clay. I have had worse partings, but none that so gnaws at my mind still. Perhaps it is roughly saying what God alone could perfectly show, how selfhood begins with a walking away, and love is proved in the letting go. So I want you to think about that, and as part of your homework for next week, I want you to tell me all about that poem, and I'll put that into the same team's assignment, okay? So for next week, you've got a team's assignment that I want you to do. Now, I know next week we're technically on holiday, but I'm giving you 1 week to get this done, and then on Monday, I'm going to start take them in and mark them. So please make sure that you submit your assignments. That's it, folks, and hopefully I'll speak to you in a few weeks. Bye!